This is Mike at Fancy Foam. I'm going to do a short little video on doing the aileron hinge on an airfoil wing. These wings are for a 34-inch MX2 airfoil kit. And there's a couple different ways to do the hinge. I'm using foam tack glue. So I'm going to do two different methods. I'll do one on the left, one on the right. I'm going to start by applying a bead of glue to the right to the hinge area on this aileron. Okay, now I'm going to butt this up to the trailing edge of the wing, and you can see this is going to make a little bit of it's got a bevel there with the two sharp edges of the bevel touching each other, and so the glue's just kind of, it's somewhat attached now with just the glue holding it together. And so I've got the tip lined up. There's a little bit of a gap at the root edge, and so I'm just going to take my finger, you can use a popsicle stick if you want, and I'm just going to smear this glue kind of down into that hinge. And I'm wanting to kind of spread the glue out away from the hinge a little bit so that it's maybe 1/8 of an inch on either side. I'm just wanting to smear this glue around a little bit. Now it's going to force some of the glue to the bottom side of the hinge, and I don't want chunks of glue down there either. So I'm folding this over and I'm going to smear that around on that bottom edge too. And so basically when I'm done, there's not going to be thick glue anywhere. It's going to be pretty thin. And so if I try to slowly pull that apart, it's getting kind of stringy at this point. And so I'm wanting to just make sure that everything's lined up this way and this way, you know, just kind of while I can move things around a little bit. I want to make sure everything's nice and even. The tip is nice and straight and true. And it doesn't take very long before I could kind of pull it a little bit and it would string apart, and it's kind of stopped doing that now. So I'm going to let this rest a little bit and do the other wing. When I'm done with the other wing, I'm actually going to come back to this first panel and I'm going to flex it some more, and I'm going to rub both on the top and bottom because I want to make sure I don't have too much glue on there. If there's a thick spot of glue, it's going to make this have a hard time flexing, and that just puts a lot of extra load on your servos, and you don't get good even movement out of your aileron. Now on this next one, I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to apply, I guess I'll do this a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and push these together and apply the glue right over the joint. For some people this is a little bit easier. Get that extra glue off there. And so I'm just going to push this together and put the glue right on the joint there. And then I'm going to take it, first I'm going to fold this kind of over on itself, so it's kind of spreading the glue around a little bit. And then what I do is I take a wiping motion and I want to kind of do this with the tips so that the two tips are smearing the glue on both the top and bottom surfaces there. So I'm going to do it kind of at the tip, and then I'll move down a little bit. And I'm spreading that glue from top to bottom and bottom to top on the two different surfaces. And you kind of have to do this, you know, you don't want to wait too long. You want to start smearing it around right away because you can already see that glue is starting to get stringy. So I want to smear that around a little bit, and then I'm going to do kind of like I did on the other. I'm going to kind of wipe the glue into the surface of the foam, and then I'll flip that over. And again, I want to make sure there's not too much glue on there. That glue is trying to stick to my fingernail, so it kind of got a little chunk there. I'm going to take that off and actually switch fingers. This one's got glue on it, so I switch to this one. If you have a popsicle stick, you can flip it over and use the other side, or just grab a new one. But then I want to come back and make sure that the tip's even here. I have a little bit of a gap here. Got the gap there so they don't hit each other when it moves. And then just kind of press this together. Now I can see a couple spots. It's going to be hard to see on the camera. There's not good glue coverage kind of in this area. If I pull it apart a little bit, I can see it makes a little bit of a gap there and a little bit here and here. So I didn't put enough glue on it in the first place, and that's okay. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull on this a little bit, kind of see where the gaps are, and I'm just going to go in and put more glue on. While this glue is still tacking up, if you put more glue on it, the solvent in the glue will actually loosen up the glue that's already on there. I've actually used fresh glue to unglue a hinge because it'll break apart that glue that's there. And so I'm going to take this and I'm going to kind of rub that down into the joint. I'm not going to do the wiping this time. I'm just rubbing that in. I'm going to flip it over because some of it will have gone through. And I'm going to rub that in back there. Make sure I don't have any chunks of glue or foam or anything else stuck in there. And that's much better now. So I'm going to do a little bit down here at the tip. I always stand my bottle right side up and all the glue goes to the bottom. I need to remember to lay it down flat when I'm getting ready to when I'm going to be using the glue quickly again, especially when the bottle's starting to thicken up a little bit. Alright, so I got some extra glue on there. I'm going to smear that in. I'm going to flip it over, smear it in on this side. I'm going to kind of push it together and pull it apart a little bit. That creates those little strings which helps strengthen that joint. And yeah, that's sticking together a lot nicer. So I'm going to set that aside, let it cure up for a little bit. I'm going to go back to this original one. Now this glue, it's not tacky anymore. It's nice and dry. My hands don't grab anywhere on it. And I'm really wanting to just flex it some and make sure that that hinge is nice and floppy. You want it, you know, the air to be able to just push on that hinge real nice and easy. That's a nice strong hinge. There's no gaps. It's stuck together really well, but it moves very freely, and that's what we really like about the foam tack glue. So that's all for this video. If you guys have any questions, just post them on the video and I'll try to get them answered.